Hello and welcome to From Our Correspondent. In this edition, we shall hear from our correspondent on what they were up to in the course of the week. My name is Richard K Nyarko and it's always a pleasure serving you. Welcome and be my guest for the next hour.
I am Rafik Salami Wa.
And in our first story, the National Disaster Management Organization in the Northeast region has confirmed more than 400 people are displaced and one person killed after a rainstorm hit 8 communities in the West Mamprusi municipality. The deceased is a 6-year-old girl who died in her sleep after a building collapsed on her. 6 others, including a pregnant woman, were also injured in the incident. The storm also destroyed over 5 school buildings, including the Bawala Senior High School. Ilyasu Tanko has more in this report.
The affected communities include the municipal capital, Walewale, Bimsi, Wulugu, Nyarko, Gagbini, Diani, and Katabanawa. The storm destroyed 81 houses, resulting in the displacement of 434 people in the 8 affected communities in the municipality. One of the buildings collapsed on 8 occupants in the Walewale township, killing a 6-year-old girl and leaving her pregnant mother and siblings with varying extents of injuries. The child has since been buried after police and medical examinations were conducted. The mother of the deceased, Ayi Ali, who had her waist smashed by a falling object, narrates to Joy News how she and her 4 other children escaped the fury of the storm. The roofing caved in on us while we were asleep. I rushed to the rescue of my children, but it was already too late for my 6-year-old girl. The others also suffered injuries, and I also had a hit on my waist by a falling object. Her husband, Alhaji Abdallah Bakare, a devoted Muslim, described the incident as the will of Allah, which he said has been accepted unconditionally. He has, however, called for support to fix his destroyed property.
As of now, the risk has risen price. Burden is raised, everything raised the money. So it can help, get help. It's better.
The storm also destroyed about 5 school buildings, including the Walewale Senior High School, which has lost about 3 classrooms and part of the school wall pulled down. The headmaster of the school, Ibrahim Sibiam, says the incident has affected effective academic activities while making an open plea for urgent assistance.
If we get it immediate, it will be good. In that the classrooms, as you went round, the roof, they are ripped off, and we don't have lights in those classrooms. So where we have also sent them is a temporary place where there is no light, it's abandoned. So they cannot have preps in the evening. Even if we want them to come to the classrooms that have light, they will be choked. The classrooms there won't be space to accommodate them. So if we get it immediately renovated and lights restored, academic work will go on very well.
The rainstorm also caused damage to the St. Joseph Primary School, Walewale Presby, and another primary school in Wulugu, and several others across the municipality. The assemblyman for the Nayilifon, whose electoral area has been hard hit, appealed for support for the victims, as well as to urgently fix the damaged school blocks.
Most of the houses that have been ripped off, looking at the current conditions of life, if we do not support them, some of them are going to be very distressful. So I therefore call on authorities and NADMO to urgently come to the aid, particularly the school, so that the children can get sufficient and enough spaces to be able to continue their studies in the school.
Many of the affected communities who are well-to-do have begun to fix their properties after days of no response from the National Disaster Management Organization in the municipality. But those who are less capable still await a helping hand from NADMO. The National Disaster Management Organization in the region, however, says it is still conducting an assessment of the disaster to plan a response. The regional director of the organization, Alasan John Kweku, spoke to Joy News.
I'm sure by tomorrow the assessment will have been done, because we've gone there more than halfway. And as I speak to you now, our men are currently on the ground doing the assessment. And then with regards to those who are displaced, the communities are dotted. We have our relatives and our family members dotted around. So people have decided to go and stay with their family members, and I don't think we have a problem with that. And those who have challenges or issues with regards to where to put up themselves, NADMO is ready to find a temporary place for them.
Although the organization is yet to come to the aid of victims of previous weather-related incidents which occurred in different parts of the region due to its overwhelming operational and material challenges, the regional director insists the organization is capable of discharging its duties of preventing and managing disasters in the region.
This is not the first time that we're experiencing such a disaster. It has happened before. And then NADMO, I can assure you that we are more than prepared to deal with any eventuality that will arise as a result of this rains and then the disasters that we are anticipating.
From Nalergo, Ilyasu Tanko, reporting for Joy News.
We come to the Central Region, and the Electricity Company of Ghana is courting the support of its customers to help reduce the losses the company incurs on a monthly basis. According to the company, the losses of close to 30% it suffers go beyond the acceptable international threshold. Speaking at the media briefing in Cape Coast, the Director of Customer Services at the Electricity Company of Ghana, Abraham Anocha Bebrese, indicated the company has given a month moratorium for all those whose activities contribute to such losses to report it to your offices for redress or else face the consequences. I have more in the following report. The Director of Customer Services at the Electricity Company of Ghana, Abraham Anocha Bebrese, outlined the various factors that contribute to the losses of the Electricity Company of Ghana and why the current action has been taken by ECG.
By default, every utility company incurs some losses. And as Electricity Company of Ghana, we also incur some losses. And these losses are both technical and commercial. PURC, as our regulator, has given us a benchmark to attain in terms of losses. And the current benchmark is 22.6 for us to achieve. But as we speak now, our losses ranges between 28-29%. So this exercise will help us to bring the losses down to the benchmark that PURC, and possibly even go beyond what PURC is asking us to achieve. So that is the essence of this exercise. We want everyone to come out willingly so that we can rectify any situation which is causing leakages and, for that matter, causing losses to the company.
Mr. Bebrese says there would be consequences after the moratorium given by the company and want customers to help them to reduce the losses.
If they don't come out, we are giving the moratorium for 1 month. If they don't come out, we are going to deploy our men on the field to check every meter, and I mean the word every meter, not every house, every meter, to find out whether the meter is functioning effectively. If we find out that there's any default with the meter as a result of actions or inactions of the customer, we are going to take the customer on, as I said. And by the laws of the country, such a thing is considered as theft and is criminal. And such customers are going to be prosecuted. Thank you very much.
He mentioned that the National Revenue Mobilization Task Force will resume full operation after the period and clamp down on all illegalities and charge customers for stealing. Reporting for Joy News, Richard K Nyarko, Cape Coast. To the Upper West region now, and their classroom block has become a death trap replete with several cracks and gaping holes. The makeshift structure constructed to complement the dilapidated classroom block built with bricks is weak and could easily be ripped off or destroyed by any violent wind or rainstorm. There is no decent furniture in the school, and the people sit on the bare floor, sand, logs, wire boards or stones. That is the situation pupils of Bawala Primary and Junior High School in the Wild West District find themselves in. Community members are worried about the situation and have mobilized and constructed 30 benches to ameliorate the suffering of the 250 pupils in the school. Joy News' Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam has more in this report.
Due to lack of basic school at Badawa, located at the outskirts of the Wild West District, pupils in the predominant farming community hitherto walk several kilometers, sometimes crossing rivers, to attend school. Community members are aware of the importance of education and concerned about the future of their pupils established the Bawala DA Basic School in the year 2012 with 12 pupils. The school was absorbed by the government 3 years later and several trained teachers were posted to the school. A decade after its establishment, the school's enrollment figures has catapulted to 250 pupils, comprising of 150 boys and 100 girls, with the exception of a 3-unit classroom block which was constructed for them by Dutch philanthropist and retired Catholic missionary Brother Dick. There have not been any change at the school since its establishment. The brick classroom constructed by the community is now a death trap. There are cracks and gaping holes all over the walls. The pupils have outnumbered the classrooms, forcing them to hold classes under a weak makeshift structure that could easily be destroyed by any violent wind or rainstorm. Wawazis Coordinating Director Richard K Nyarko agrees the situation is an affront to conducive effective teaching and learning, with a pledge of reporting to the Wawazis District Chief Executive for action to be taken.
The situation is bad. As you see, this is not a good, conducive environment for teaching, effective teaching and learning. I have seen that, yes. Because at least, apart from this particular 3-unit classroom block that you can talk of as something better, the rest are not in shape. So as I said, I have taken note and I'll present to the DC maybe the next line of action will be taken.
Furthermore, there is no decent furniture in this school. Sitting on the bare sand, stones, wire boards, logs, and broken pieces of cement blocks is the order here during instructional periods. The pupils told me off camera the severe waist pains they have developed as a result of the awkward sitting arrangement. Head teacher of the school, Daud Hussein Munyala, threw more light on their challenges.
Though there are no furniture in the school, people have to lie down on the ground in order to write and also to learn. Some sit on the wood, others sit on stones in order to learn. As we don't have place of convenience, sometimes if any of them is menstruating and they need to go and change, it becomes a problem. Others have to go into the bush, and others have to leave classes and go home because they cannot change themselves in the school.
Concerned about the plight of the pupils, members of the Bawala community mobilized themselves and constructed 30 benches for the school in order to ameliorate the suffering of the pupils. Richard K Nyarko commended the Bawala community for the initiative.
Within our plans, as the District Director Education representative indicated, our attention has been drawn that furniture is the critical issue as we have it now. And so we are also making plans to ensure, as part of our annual action plans and budgets, to procure some furniture for distribution district-wide. So, and I believe that once this situation has been mentioned, as I go to report to the DCE, I want to believe that if that furniture is provided, the community may also benefit.
Reporting for J News, Rafik Salam, Balawa.
In our next story, the overlord of the Newmont Ahafonot mining communities, Nana Boachi Tromo II, says should the mining company decide to halt the commencement of operations in the area due to the continuous legal battles, the people will suffer. Some aggrieved residents of the communities are in court to restrain Newmont mines over compensation-related issues, but the chief, who is also the chief of Duayon Kanta in the Tano North District of the Ahafo region, is rather urging for an amicable resolution to the issues for the sake of the community's economic growth. Precious Semovo has more in this report.
Commencement of Newmont Ahafo operations is behind schedule, but the situation could get worse if residents, the mining company, and other stakeholders fail to agree on common ground. New structures and farms continue to spring up with anticipation of compensation from Newmont. Some aggrieved persons in the 5 mining communities, led by one Enoch Kofi, are in court to seek redress over what they describe as an unfair compensation regime for new properties. Stakeholders are worried. The overlord of the communities and the chief of Duankwanta, Nana Boache Tromo II, says the situation could force Newmont out of the area and they would suffer the economic consequences. Nana Odia Sempa Buedu II is the chief of Adroba.
Omunya memani ahafo no frano. Ahafo South project no moye no. If we be another fund. Another fund, you be scholarships. You be developmental works,
we are benefiting from NADEF.
Yes, you
other developmental works. Many of the youths if you work outside the country, we are enjoying now, so it will affect us if we don't start mining.
If you go out here, so
Tetra Chief Nana Okwajiman Boache II appealed to the aggrieved residents to truncate the court case and allow the matter to be handled so as not to affect the economic activities in the area.
Say we ayadi nye ene ehase ye dia bubu na che ena ade omoba na omuko ena isidi no na mahene
long ago and we have been tasked by the overlord to ensure the youth get jobs. We are working towards that, but not through violent means. People must understand that Newmont has not said they won't pay. The new resource structures for the magistrate assembly and the chief's door is open to help address concerns, so they should withdraw the court case for Newmont to start work.
Almost wa bibi how bia ko omahene so aka bibi a wotete no brand ona ne medi nkita ho enti court sem ne de omohwe na court sem ne firi ona Newmont fo no me ye adwuma no na Newmont fo no nti e no mbe ye sa adwuma no ho na omo kwa wo de ye den.
Precious Semovo, Joy News, Duankwanta.
Now, one thing you are likely going to notice upon entering Wa, especially on Wa market days, would not only be about how clean the town is, but rather the mentally ill persons having a decent, nice haircut and being smartly dressed. You are likely going to mistake them for same persons. Now, wondering who may have been responsible for this? That is the work of the Chief Executive Officer of the Bahas Foundation, Ilyas Yusuf Baba. Joy News' Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam takes a closer look at his work, the challenges, and his future plan of building a mental home. There is more in this report.
I met a mental challenged person who is known as Mbasedu Santana. He's still with us here today. And I sent him somewhere to go and buy me some items. He went and came back. From there, I bathed him, clothed him, and feed him. The next day he came to me. I did the same thing to him again. That's how he started. I said, no, if this man can come to his senses for what he have done, I have to add another person. That's how it started. So from 1 to 2, from 2 to up to now, we are having about 48 of them within one municipal. And outside, there are more than that.
Chief Executive Officer and founder of Bahas Foundation, Ilyas Yusuf Baba, giving a vivid account on how he got into the bathroom of mental challenged persons in the Wa municipality.
Whenever I see a mental challenged person, I always know that he's a brother or a sister. Whenever I wake up from my bed, the first person I always think is mental ill person.
For over a decade and every week, the bathroom of these mental challenged persons became a permanent feature in his life. Through the support of some like-minded persons and volunteers, they will usually come around the municipality in search of these mental challenged persons to bath, giving a decent hair shave and carpet, with dressing them with neat second-hand clothing, often donated by the benevolent in the society. Ilyas Yusuf Baba noted that though there had been a significant drop in the support he receives from benevolent individuals and organizations, there has been a gargantuan increase in the number of mental ill persons they are taking care of. The few persons and organizations they used to rely on are now coiling back and unprepared to give out certain economic reasons.
The system is hard. Those people who were supporting us now, whenever you go to any of them, they say they don't have money for now.
Despite the challenges, the Bahas Foundation Chief Executive Officer looks into the future with optimism.
I want to see a mental challenged person house. I want to see a mental challenged clothes. I want to see a mental ill person have the 3 square meals as we are also having. I want to see them move from the street and be in their houses. We found them something to do.
The leader of the mental ill persons, Chairman Santana, in an interaction with Bahas Foundation CEO, however, expressed joy and satisfaction for what has been done for them over the years.
I make neat.
You make neat? Okay. What do you have to tell Bahas?
I will talk him that he got a thank you.
You got to thank you.
Mr. Bahas got a thank you.
What about the media? What about the media?
All right, well, we greeted them fine.
In National Lotteries Authority, NLA, there is a glimmer of hope for them following the donation of food and sanitary items valued at 15,000 Ghana cedis with a pledge of helping to construct a male and female washrooms for them. Head of good causes at the NLA, Ama Frompom, donated the items on behalf of the Director General of NLA, Sami Oku.
Going to assist him to put up a male washroom area, a female washroom area, so that he can take them there and then they can have a place, you know, as people that are not mentally afflicted, we wash in closed environments. So why should they be denied that as well? So that's the next step that we'll be taking with them. This is all in line with the work we do at the NLA Good Causes Foundation. We also have where people would ask that I stake lottery. What happens if I don't win? Where does the money go? So these are some of the things that we do with the proceeds from it to impact society, to make a change in someone's life.
Also present at the function was Chief of BA, Nan Antanson Dafar, who lauded the work of Bahas Foundation, calling for more support for him.
He's a young man trying as much as he could to dedicate his life in supporting the mental health. And we would like to take this opportunity to appeal to NGOs and companies and other philanthropists who have this same idea of supporting to come to the support of Bahas Foundation.
Reporting for the news, Rafik Salam. Wow. From our correspondent, we'll take a short break. We shall be back with more. Stay with me. From the break, let's do some politics. And General Secretary Aspirant of the New Patriotic Party, Frederick Opariansa, says the concerns of the parliamentary primaries ahead of the general elections in 2020 were poorly managed, resulting in skirt and blouse voting. He insists this massively contributed to the loss of many parliamentary seats, with the Bono region losing 5 out of the 11 seats. He wants delegates to trust his message of remotivation in the upcoming national executive elections. Opariansa has been speaking to the media after touring the Bono region, saying the incumbent secretary should not have stood for re-election.
The Bono region is unique in terms of the election results coming from 2020. And so whilst I engaged the delegates and my message got very high and good reception, I also took the opportunity in touring the region to ascertain and find out for myself why we lost 5 seats out of the 11 we were holding. And in traversing the region, the reasons became apparent to me. I even started making some calls to some ministers to see what we could do to salvage the situation before we begin to approach 2024. And so, by and large, I think my message of remotivation, which I have given to the delegates, they've received it so well. There's been a lot of words of encouragement Some are even asking why it's taking me so long to come reach them. This is the only time that we have seen a party in government going for its second term lose such massive number of seats. Not only that, you go on having tied with the NDC at 137, and the independent MP being magnanimous enough to say that I'll work with your caucus. So you have a majority, a working majority of 138 members. You still go and lose the speakership to the NDC. And yet, you want us to hand this party back to you. Well, if it was left to me, I don't think he should even have the audacity to contest for re-election.
The former member of parliament for Suhum also says internal divisions would arise, but it requires a special level of leadership skills to manage them.
Issues of internal divisions in parties will always be with us. It is the management of it that is important. I have been a member of parliament for 16 years. I've had very fierce contests, including my contest with Brian Champong back in 2008, where we tied 3 times of 51 votes each. Can you imagine the kind of division that was existing in the party at the time I was candidate and had only 6 weeks to campaign to become the MP for Suhum again? But I did a yeoman's job. I bent over backwards to accommodate everyone's views, to bring on board people who otherwise one would expect that I could never see eye to eye. And that's the kind of leadership that I'm bringing to the party. To get down to the grassroots and let them understand that we have to work together to stay afloat or sink together. Yes, it is very feasible to break the cycle of hate, but we need to do extra work. We need to motivate our base. Our base needs to have a reason. You know, in 2016, we were hungry for power. We should let our base understand why there is a need for that hunger. And I've been explaining myself to them, I've been giving them the direction, and I've been giving them the reasons why they have to be motivated, and the actions I'm going to take when I'm General Secretary to remotivate the base of the party.
We head to the Bono East region now, and as the effect of the climate change crisis increases, taking a toll on people living in poverty and endangering the livelihoods of smallholder farmers, especially women, the Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development held a conference for smallholder women farmers in the Bono East and Ahafo regions. The conference, held under the theme Building Resilient Livelihoods for Women and Smallholder Farmers Through Agroecology, is to, among other things, give the women group the opportunity to share their experiences on agroecology as well as discuss challenges facing them and propose strategies aimed at addressing them. There is more in this report by Anas Sabit.
Women are key actors in Ghana's agricultural sector, where they constitute more than 50% of the labor force and produce about 70% of the country's food stock. However, women continue to face multiple disadvantages, especially in the rural areas. To help empower this marginalized group and encourage them to adapt to agroecological farming methods, which is one of the surest ways of combating climate change and addressing food security, the Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Structure, with support from ActionAid and the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, held a conference for smallholder women farmers in the Bono East and Ahafo regions. Wilberforce Latte is a Deputy Executive Director for the southern part of the country at SECOD.
About 5 years ago, we started, together with ActionAid and Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, we started working on promoting agroecology. So last year, we brought together the women farmers, or the women counterparts of the members of the agroecology movement in the transition zone. But this year, again, in collaboration with ActionAid, we are organizing this meeting and to look more at the practical things, when it comes to soil fertility management, when it comes to pest management. What are the critical things that has to be done?
This women group used the opportunity to share their experiences on agroecology as well as challenges facing them and proposed strategies aimed at addressing them.
They have quite a lot of experience. In fact, as part of the program, we give them the opportunity to share their experiences, and they did. I mean, it's remarkable. Some of them are using tobacco, neem, and garlic to ward off pests, from their crops. And there are a lot of knowledge. Where we have gotten them to now is how can they put the knowledge into practice.
One of the areas discussed at the conference has to do with the establishment of a market for organic food crops. Olawumi Benedict is an organic farmer, a trainer and an advocate for the participatory guaranteed systems. She encouraged the farmer group to come together by having an identity and also establish satellite markets in their respective areas.
We all know that organic is more expensive than conventional. So how do we encourage them to continue to do organic if they are selling at the normal market? So we have come to tell them that they can have segregated market all over, but they need identification. They need to be identified with something. And the only tool for certification all over the world is called PGS.
The group were then taken to a demonstration farm at Country Number 2, where they received a practical knowledge on some agroecological farming methods. They share with us what they learned in the process.
In fact, what we come and learn, we came to learn so many things. A lot of deliberations, experience sharing, like whatever is transpiring on each other field. In terms of our preparation to shun away pests from our vegetables.
At this conference, I've learned so many methods, like a way of fertilizing the products, that you can use rice. You soak the rice overnight. Then you pour the water out of it, add sulfur. You spray your produce with it.
Programs officer at ActionAid Ghana, Yawase, brought and admonished government to address the poor road networks linking farming communities to major market centers, as it remains one of the key challenges facing smallholder farmers.
One key challenge that they mentioned was access to their roads, good roads, from their communities to the market centers. And I think it also affects their ability to access the market. So if in areas where there's an opportunity for government to construct the roads, I think it will be quite important for them so they can get access to the market.
Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit.
We head to the Bono East region now. A network of farmers in 11 communities of the Bono East region are benefiting from Ghana's first ever living lab. This community-led project, co-designed with local stakeholders, aims to plant 4.5 million trees across the country by the end of 2025, with the aim for over 3 million surviving trees and establishing circular business models for local communities. The program will also restore 2,500 hectares of dry and savanna forest and demonstrate the benefit of biodiversity regeneration to a local economy through the creation of local jobs and training programs. Anna Sabit has more in this report.
As part of calls to address local challenges of deforestation, climate change, declining soil fertility and agricultural productivity, unemployment and frequent forest fires, the Circular Bioeconomy Alliance, in partnership with AstraZeneca, came up with a Living Lab concept which seeks to restore natural forests, create sustainable woodlots and promote agroforestry through a community-led restoration method. Through this project, farmers, together with the community liaison officers, created a network of lead farmers in each of the 11 communities to support the agroforestry activities and knowledge exchange. Andrew Held is the director at the NGPTA, who are one of the main partners to the project.
What we're trying to do here is in total a 5,000 hectare project, about half of which is natural forest restoration, and then the other half is woodlots and agroforestry. So what we're trying to do is develop a project that has a balance of environmental and social benefits.
Glenn Asumani is the operations director with Nature and Development Foundation. He noted that with climate change here to stay, there is the need to find ways of helping in its adaptation by providing trees capable of withstanding the harsh weather conditions to farmers.
We are providing tree planting material
to farmers. So by planting material, we are talking cashew, we are talking mangoes, we are talking timber trees, we are talking biomass trees. When I say biomass, trees that you cut to enrich the soil. We are providing all of that to the farmers to make their farming practices more resilient. So in case of harsh weather, in case there's too much sun, for instance, these farms with these trees are able to withstand much more than farms that are bare, that have only crops.
With the project aiming at planting more than 4 million trees, we visited the African Plantations for Sustainable Development site here in Bantama, where these trees are nursed before they find themselves into the forests and the farms.
We are now at the APSD nursery. This is a state-of-the-art nursery with an annual production capacity of up to 25 million seedlings. This nursery has produced everything you will see during our trip. It's in operation since 2012, and the project we are doing now is for us very important, and it's important for everybody because the world has to plant more trees, and it has to be done in a proper way, and that's what we are doing here.
To AstraZeneca, who are the major partners to the project, the company, though a pharmaceutical firm, the impact of climate change due to its detrimental impact on people's lives continue to remain a priority focus across sub-Saharan Africa. Barbara Neil is the Africa president for AstraZeneca.
So AstraZeneca has made a clear commitment in terms of our support to sustainability, and this project is testament to that, the living lab that we are creating with our partners here in Ghana. So let's look at the numbers. We've committed to planting 4.5 million trees over the next couple of years. We are into our first rainy season. The project has been running for about a year. And where are we up to? So the project is off to a very good start, with more to come as it builds momentum within the community.
She was, however, quick to note that beyond the steps taken to help improve the climate, the project also aims at improving the living conditions of these local farmers by helping them economically.
So within the AstraZeneca Living Lab here in Ghana, we have the focus on the reforestation, which is around getting the right cover. That is so key to us in Africa and here in Ghana as well. But I think particularly important is the work that we are doing in agroforestry, focusing on local communities such as here in Atibubu, Viase, some of the other communities that we also visited yesterday. This is about working with the local farmers on the ground to help them economically, not just for their generation, but also for future generations.
Some of the farmers who are key stakeholders to the project lauded the move and noted that the program is already helping improve livelihoods of local farmers.
With the introduction of this, in fact, especially the youth, seen it to be very beneficial. So in fact, the youth were very excited when this NGOs and other things came together to help us doing this thing.
The project will be very helpful to our children, especially in terms of paying for their school fees, and that is one of the reasons why we are very excited about the project. To farmers and their families living within the Atibubu and Viase Forest Land Restoration Area, the Living Lab offers a more resilient system, greater income, and the opportunity to restore nature. Anas Sabit, Joy News, Atibubu.
We head to the Ashanti region now, and with the lack of potable water running through many homes in Ghana, roof runoffs harvesting is an alternative source of water. However, the roofing materials have been identified to affect the water's quality. A research by the scientists at the Department of Chemistry, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, has concluded that children and adults are at risk of dangerous health effects from drinking roof runoffs. There is more in this report by Love FM's Kwesi Debra.
Tamale ano na idimu agro udimu agro utimi dakama oba enyimra no utimi dakama ana fe so no yesobi e de si enioma e de wo hye papa nom cars afi so no Tamale susu ana omo chese se Apollo yewa so nsuo a adu chance so a na so etimi ma Apollo no eko nti mpempi nsuo a etofi so na e
oh nsuo a etofi so a good chance so a so bi no o di sino ma and I'm saying no emo ha soft water niti etimi pu ahuro kama ma o di daren so a ye onu nsuo so e kama so.
With the lack of potable water running through many homes in Ghana, roof runoffs harvesting is an alternative source of water. However, the roofing materials have been identified to affect the water's quality. The research published in the journal Science of the Total Environment sought to find certain substances and how they can impact consumers' health. Professor Osakoto is the lead scientist.
Since the environment is polluted and water runs through the environment, that is the atmosphere, before it gets to us or before we can harvest it. My interest was to find out whether these atmospheric particles have impact on the water quality as it rains. And I also observed that one of the materials that is used for rainwater harvest is actually runoffs from roofs. So I also decided that since these roofing materials are made up of certain elements, metals, do they have any potential to leach these metals into the water that we harvest? My study at Ejoso was actually informed because of the harvest of rainwater. And I also realized that Ejoso, most people in Ejoso don't have access to pipe-borne water. Most of them are using boreholes and hand-dug wells. So my survey, initial survey, you realize that most of the people in Ejoso and its environs do harvest rainwater and use it for domestic purposes.
The researchers found heavy metals such as cadmium, iron, chromium and some germs were above the WHO standard. Cadmium in runoffs from asbestos roofing, for instance, was found to pose the biggest risk.
So we have procedures to estimate whether these metals can pose cancer and non-cancer risk. So we look at the individual metals from the individual roofing materials, and we realize that cadmium was one of the toxic metals that we can talk about so far as the metals of targets are concerned. And we realize that cadmium in all the roofing materials could pose non-cancer risks to both children and adults. And then we also realize that the same cadmium from the asbestos can also produce a cancer risk so far as human beings that use the water for both drinking and dermal contact, because we can use it to bath. Yeah, so when you bath with it for your lifespan or you drink it for your lifespan, then there's a higher possibility that you can have cancer. So if you are going to harvest water that you use for domestic purposes, then the recommendation is that we should use the most recent roofing materials.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Debra.
We head up north, and Member of Parliament for Tamale South, Harun Idrisu, has called on the security in the region to up their game to address the insecurity in the area. His call comes in the wake of increased robbery attacks in the Tamale metropolis, with his constituency being one of the heavily hit, with the recent one being the death of 2 at Kalariga after armed robbers robbed a mobile money vendor. There is more in this report by Martina Bugri.
The minority leader Harun Idrisu made a call when he commissioned a fully equipped health facility at the cost of 400,000 Ghana cedis for the people of Adubiliyili in the Tamale South constituency. Speaking at the event, the MP said the increasing insecurity in the city was a matter of concern that needed to be addressed.
The growing insecurity in Tamale
now sleeping with one eye closed and one eye opened because of the threat to insecurity and the growing incidence of crime in Tamale generally. We are concerned to lives that are being lost, apart from money and other property, to armed robbery, which is done openly, and therefore the security agencies will have to up their game in order to deal with it and nip it. But I need to call on the community chiefs and elders to also do their best. Tamale is fast expanding, but we are getting too many strange visitors and strangers. We should be careful as landlords who we give our homes to.
Mr. Idrisu said the health facility was constructed with his share of the National Health Insurance Fund and the Common Fund to help improve healthcare delivery in his constituency.
The entire project is worth 400,000 Ghana cedis, 320 for the fiscal infrastructure, financed from my share of the National Health Insurance Fund, and the furnishing of medical equipment and other ancillaries financed from my share of the Common Fund, as my contribution to improving and expanding access to quality medical care for the inhabitants and persons living within and around Adubuliyele.
Tamale Metro Director of Health Service, Dr. Hilarious Abewu, said the two MPs within the Tamale Metro have pledged their commitment to help build more health centers for the metropolis.
Nobody should become poorer because they were ill and needed to access health care. Which means that when people are ill, they should get care in a facility that is as cheap as possible in terms of the cost of health care, where virtually all the services should be covered by national health insurance. It is in this light, and recognizing that Tamale Metro has 41 electoral areas, we will need a minimum of our 41 chiefs compounds. So, together, we engaged the Honorable Minority Leader and Member of Parliament, and also the Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. Together, these two MPs have dedicated themselves and committed to providing as many healthcare facilities as possible within the Tamale Metro.
We end this edition of From Our Correspondent in the Bono East region, where an increasing number of studies have found that girls in low-income settings miss or struggle at school during menstruation if they are unable to manage their menstrual hygiene effectively. The situation is even worse for girls in communities like Aropata, a farming community in the Techima municipality, where girls use pieces of unhygienic cloth each time they have their menses. Executive Director for Women Integrated Development Organization, a non-profit organization, charged government to scrap the taxes imposed on menstruation materials to make it affordable for girls in need. Anna Sabit has more in this report.
Ghana has a variety of misconceptions and stigmas about menstruation. A popular belief is that menstruation is unclean, leading to mismanagement of menstrual hygiene. This has led to a significant percentage of girls in schools missing precious school lessons due to menstruation. Executive Director of Women Integrated Development Organization, WIDO, David Balonguri, noted that the situation is worrying, especially in rural communities.
In our process, we observe that most of the time when we come to the community to visit the groups that we are working with, we mostly found most of the girls not being in school, and we tried to understand what exactly the challenges were. We got to understand that most of them absented themselves from school as a result of menstruation, and those that even were able to go to school also had challenges in really managing their menstruational periods.
With the current taxes imposed on menstruation materials, David Balunguri appealed to government to remove these taxes, which is currently making it difficult for girls from low-income households to afford them.
Some of them also complained of not having pads because of the cost and then the rates. So we wanted to use the opportunity to celebrate the World Menstrual Day and also to use the opportunity to provide advocate to government to really actually go by its promise of removing taxes on the pads such that it will become affordable for the rural communities to be able to afford.
Bono East Regional Head of the Department of Gender, Monica Onye, called for a concerted effort by stakeholders to help in the provision of free sanitary pads to girls, especially in rural schools.
We feel that, I guess, government is trying to do something about these things, maybe subsidizing the price of these sanitary pads. And if there's a way that these girls could get these pads freely, not even subsidizing, if we could get them for them like Widow has done today, so that these girls can come to school and then have the education that they need, instead of staying at home when they are in their menses.
Some of these girls who have never used sanitary pads disclosed to Joy News what they use each time they have their menses, and were thankful to the organizers of the program for educating them on the proper use of the sanitary pads. When my parents do not have money to buy pads for me, I use a piece of cloth so I prevent the blood from flowing through my panties. And when I overflow whilst in school, I change the piece of cloth and dump it into a toilet pit. We struggle a lot in buying pads, especially myself. So we are happy you came around today. I wish each one of us would receive at least a box of sanitary pads. We are grateful for this and we pray you'll be able to come back with more. Anna Sabit, Joy News, our pata.
And that's how we end this edition of From Our Correspondents. Many thanks for watching. My name is Richard K Nyarko. Enjoy your day.